The night is quiet over the Nile. The river moves slowly through the darkness, carrying cool air across the sleeping land. Above the water, stars shine softly in a sky untouched by city lights. The world feels wide and still. Mud brick homes rest in silence. Palm trees stand motionless beside narrow paths somewhere in the distance. A dog barks once and then grows quiet again. The desert waits beyond the fields. Even in darkness, it is there. Endless stretches of pale sand resting beneath the moon. During the day it will glow beneath the sun, but now it seems calm and gentle. A faint breeze drifts across its surface, lifting tiny grains into the air before letting them settle once more. In a small village not far from the river, most people are asleep. Families lie on woven mats inside simple homes. Children rest beside their parents. Workers sleep after long days beneath the heat. Their breathing rises and falls softly in rooms scented with clay walls, dry reeds, and the remains of evening meals. But the day is already beginning for someone. A man named Hori slowly opens his eyes. The darkness has not yet faded. Dawn remains hidden below the horizon. Yet his work begins before many others awaken. For years, Hori has performed a task so ordinary that almost no record of it survives. No grand monument was built by his hands. No famous inscription remembers his name. He is not a priest, a nobleman, or a royal official. He sweeps sand. Every day. Every morning. Every season. Year after year. His courtyard must remain clear. The desert never stops moving. Sand drifts into every corner of life. It gathers against walls. It slips beneath doors. It settles on floors and workspaces. It covers paths carefully swept only a day before. The work never truly ends. Hori sits up slowly. His joints ache from yesterday's labor. His shoulders feel stiff. A faint soreness remains in his back. He is not old, but years of work beneath the Egyptian sun have left their marks. He waits quietly for a moment. Outside, the village remains dark. Then he stands. His bare feet touch the cool floor. The clay surface feels pleasant before the coming heat of the day. He reaches for a simple linen garment hanging nearby and dresses without hurry. The room is silent except for the small sounds of movement. His wife continues sleeping. One child shifts slightly beneath a woven blanket. Another turns over and settles once more into dreams. Hori steps outside. The air is cool. This is one of the finest moments of the day. Before the heat arrives. Before the dust rises. Before voices fill the streets. The courtyard waits before him. Even in dim light, he can see what the wind has brought. Thin ribbons of sand stretch across the ground. Small drifts have gathered near the wall. A scattering of dry leaves lies beside a storage jar. Nothing dramatic. Nothing unusual. Just another morning. Hori lifts his broom. The broom is simple. A bundle of reeds bound together with cord. Its handle is smooth from years of use. He begins to sweep. Soft scratching sounds break the silence. Back and forth. Back and forth. Slow movements across packed earth. Tiny clouds of dust rise and disappear. The work requires no deep thought. In many ways, that is why it suits the morning. His body remembers the motions. Push. Gather. Lift. Move. Again. The rhythm becomes almost peaceful. As he works, dawn slowly approaches. The eastern sky begins to lighten. Colors shift from black to deep blue. Then a pale silver glow appears near the horizon. Birds begin to wake. A few small calls drift through the village. Somewhere nearby, another worker emerges from his home. A door opens. Footsteps cross a lane. The day stretches awake. Hori continues sweeping. The courtyard grows cleaner. Neat lines appear in the earth where the broom has passed. The drifting sand collects into small piles. Soon he will carry it away. But there is no hurry. Life in ancient Egypt often follows the rhythm of sunlight. Work begins early because the heat demands it. The hours before sunrise are precious. People move quietly through them. Farmers prepare tools. Bakers begin mixing dough. Fishermen check nets. Servants light small lamps. And Hori sweeps. The first rays of sunlight touch the tops of distant palm trees. Golden light spreads across the fields. The Nile reflects the growing brightness. Mist lingers above the water in thin ribbons. For a moment, the world feels suspended between night and day. Hori pauses. He rests one hand on the broom and looks toward the river. The sight never becomes ordinary. Every morning brings small differences. A new reflection. A different breeze. A changing pattern of clouds. The river shapes everything around him. Without it, this land would be desert. Without it, the village would not exist. Fields would not grow green. Bread would not fill ovens. Families would not gather around evening meals. The Nile makes life possible. Soon the village grows busier. Women begin grinding grain. The steady sound of stone against stone drifts through open doorways. Children wake. Voices rise. Donkeys bray. The smell of baking bread begins to spread through the air. Warm and comforting. One of the most familiar scents in the ancient world. Hori finishes gathering the last pile of sand. He lifts it carefully into a woven basket. The grains slide softly against one another. Thousands upon thousands of tiny particles carried by the wind from places far beyond the village. He walks to the edge of the settlement. There he empties the basket. Tomorrow more sand will return. It always does. The desert is patient. It never grows tired. It never stops moving. Back in the courtyard, sunlight now reaches the walls. The clay bricks glow with warm color. Small cracks and marks reveal years of weather. Every home carries signs of time. Nothing remains untouched by sun, wind, and dust. Hori sets the broom aside. For now, the courtyard is clean. Soon his family will use the space. Children will play there. Food will be prepared there. Neighbors may stop to speak. Tools may be repaired beneath its shade. The courtyard is not merely empty space. It is the center of daily life. Many Egyptian homes revolve around such places. Open areas allow air to move. They provide room for work. They offer moments of relief from crowded interiors. Keeping them clean matters. Not because anyone writes about it. Not because kings issue commands about it. But because ordinary life depends upon countless small acts of care. Acts that leave few traces behind. The sun climbs higher. Already the coolness of dawn begins to fade. Hori enters his home. Breakfast waits. Simple bread. Perhaps onions. Maybe a few dates. A little beer brewed from grain. Nothing luxurious. Yet enough to begin another day. His family gathers together. Conversation remains gentle. No one rushes. The hardest heat has not yet arrived. For a short while, they simply exist together. Outside, the village grows steadily louder. Workers move toward fields. Merchants prepare goods. Scribes walk toward administrative buildings. Boats begin traveling along the river. Life unfolds in every direction. And somewhere beyond the village, the desert wind continues its slow journey. Lifting grains of sand. Carrying them across the land. Preparing tomorrow's work. After breakfast, Hori returns to his tasks. Sweeping is only one part of his day. Like many people in ancient Egypt, he performs many forms of labor whenever needed. Some days involve carrying supplies. Other days involve repairing walls. Sometimes he helps move goods arriving from the river. Work changes with necessity. Yet the courtyard remains constant. Every evening and every morning it demands attention. As the hours pass, sunlight grows stronger. The warmth becomes noticeable. Shadows shorten. Dust rises beneath sandals crossing village roads. The packed earth pathways begin filling with activity. A donkey pulls a loaded cart nearby. Its slow footsteps create a steady rhythm. A merchant calls softly to potential customers. Children run between buildings before being called back by watchful parents. Life feels busy, yet never hurried. Ancient Egypt moves at the pace of human bodies. Walking. Carrying. Lifting. Resting. Everything requires effort. Everything consumes time. The heat continues building. Workers know what is coming. By midday, the sun will stand high above them. Air will shimmer over walls and fields. Shade will become valuable. Water will become precious. Hori works steadily through the morning. Sweat begins to gather along his forehead. His hands grow dusty. His linen clothing clings slightly to his skin. Still, he continues. The sounds of village life surround him. Hammering from a workshop. Grinding grain. Distant voices. The occasional cry of a bird overhead. These sounds blend together into the ordinary music of daily existence. Hours pass. Eventually the heat becomes difficult to ignore. The sun presses down upon roofs and courtyards. Stone surfaces warm beneath the light. Animals seek shelter. People move more slowly. Hori returns once more to the courtyard. A few fresh lines of sand have already appeared near one wall. Not much. Just enough to notice. He smiles faintly. The desert has already begun its work again. So he lifts the broom. And once more, beneath the bright Egyptian sun, he begins to sweep. Slowly. Patiently. Back and forth across the warm earth. Just as he did yesterday. Just as he will tomorrow. While beyond the village, the Nile continues its quiet journey through the ancient land, carrying water beneath the endless sky. The sun stands high above the village. Its light spreads across every roof, every courtyard, and every narrow lane between the mud brick homes. The shadows that had stretched long during the morning have now pulled close to walls and doorways. The air feels heavier than it did at dawn. Hori continues working. His movements have become slower, not from laziness, but from experience. People who spend their lives beneath the Egyptian sun learn how to move carefully. Fast work only brings faster exhaustion. The courtyard beneath his feet is warm now. Fine grains of sand catch the sunlight and sparkle briefly before settling back into stillness. Tiny patterns have formed along the edges of the walls where the morning breeze carried dust into quiet corners. The broom moves steadily. Soft scraping sounds rise and fall. Back and forth. Back and forth. The rhythm blends with the sounds of the village. Somewhere nearby, a woman shakes a woven mat. A child laughs. A donkey snorts impatiently while standing in the shade. Farther away, the faint tapping of a craftsman working stone drifts through the warm air. Nothing feels rushed. Even the sound seems softened by the heat. Ancient Egypt often slows during the brightest hours of the day. The land itself seems to encourage patience. Fields shimmer beneath sunlight. Palm leaves barely move. The Nile glitters quietly in the distance. Hori pauses and wipes sweat from his forehead. The air smells different now than it did in the morning. The scent of baking bread has faded. In its place comes the smell of warm clay, dry reeds, dust, and distant cooking fires being prepared for later meals. The village carries its own familiar scent. One that changes gently throughout the day. A breeze arrives from the direction of the river. Not strong. Just enough to bring a moment of relief. Hori closes his eyes briefly. The coolness feels pleasant against his skin. Then he returns to work. The courtyard matters because it serves many purposes. During the hottest part of the day, family members often gather there beneath patches of shade. Small repairs are made there. Grain may be sorted there. Conversations take place there. The space connects much of daily life. And so it must remain clean. Not perfectly clean. No place in Egypt remains free from dust for long. But cared for. Maintained. Ready for use. These small acts of maintenance shape ancient life more than most surviving records reveal. Kings leave monuments. Workers leave routines. And routines rarely survive in stone. Yet routines fill almost every hour of human existence. A few neighboring children wander through the lane outside. Their sandals leave faint marks in the dust. One carries a small toy made from carved wood. Another balances a reed basket much too large for his size. Their voices drift past before fading again. Soon only the sounds of insects remain. The heat deepens. Many people seek shelter. Inside homes, family members rest on woven mats. Some sit quietly in shaded rooms. Others share food while avoiding the strongest sunlight. Even animals appear sleepy. Goats gather beneath trees. Dogs stretch across cool patches of ground. Birds settle among branches. The entire village seems wrapped in a blanket of warmth. Hori eventually places the broom aside. For now, enough has been done. He steps beneath a shaded overhang and sits. His legs are tired. His shoulders ache gently. Not from one day of work. From thousands of days. Years accumulate slowly. One season becomes another. One harvest follows the next. One flood season gives way to planting. Life moves in circles. The same tasks return again and again. Sweeping. Carrying. Repairing. Walking. Waiting. Resting. For many Egyptians, these rhythms define existence far more than any distant royal event. Hori reaches for a small container of water. The liquid is cool compared to the surrounding air. He drinks slowly. Water is precious. Every drop matters. The Nile provides abundance, yet effort is required to bring that abundance into daily life. Canals must be maintained. Water must be carried. Storage jars must be filled. Labor never truly disappears. Nearby, his wife sits grinding grain. The steady circular movement of stone against stone continues with practiced ease. The sound is familiar. Almost comforting. Across Egypt, countless households create the same sound every day. Hour after hour. Year after year. The grain slowly becomes flour. The flour becomes bread. The bread becomes energy for more work. A simple cycle. One that sustains entire communities. The afternoon drifts onward. Time feels slower beneath the heat. Even shadows seem reluctant to move. Hori watches dust floating through a beam of sunlight. Tiny particles spin and drift almost lazily. Many have likely traveled great distances. Carried by winds crossing deserts. Lifted from places unseen. Eventually finding their way into this small courtyard. The thought does not trouble him. Sand is part of life. Always has been. Always will be. The desert surrounds Egypt like an enormous sea. Its presence can never be forgotten. Even those who rarely travel beyond villages feel its influence. It arrives on the wind. It settles on rooftops. It gathers against walls. It fills sandals. It coats tools. It becomes a companion to daily existence. As the afternoon slowly progresses, activity begins returning to the village. People emerge from shade. Workers resume tasks. Voices grow more frequent. The hottest hours gradually loosen their grip. Children appear once more in the lanes. A group of fishermen walk toward the river carrying nets. Their faces are weathered by sunlight and years spent on the water. The Nile waits for them as it always has. Patient. Steady. Endlessly moving northward. For fishermen, the river shapes every aspect of life. Early mornings. Long hours. Wet hands. Heavy nets. Uncertain catches. The work is demanding. Yet it provides food for families throughout the region. Hori watches them disappear from view. Then he rises again. There is still work to do. A section of wall near the courtyard requires attention. Tiny cracks have appeared. Nothing serious. But small problems become larger ones if ignored. He gathers mud and straw, mixing them carefully. The familiar scent of wet earth rises from the mixture. Soon his hands are coated with clay. He presses the material into the cracks, smoothing the surface, restoring strength to the wall. This too is ordinary labor, the kind rarely mentioned in records. Yet homes survive because of such efforts. Without constant maintenance, mud brick structures slowly surrender to weather. Walls weaken. Corners crumble. Repairs become necessary. Life requires care. The work continues until the sunlight begins softening. The sky shifts almost imperceptibly. Bright white becomes pale gold. The afternoon slowly leans toward evening. People notice the change immediately. Energy returns. Conversations become livelier. Movement increases. The coming hours offer relief. The day is finally beginning to cool. Hori returns to the courtyard one more time. Fresh sand has gathered near the repaired wall. Only a little. A handful perhaps. Yet enough to warrant attention. He cannot help but smile again. The desert remains persistent. Every effort lasts only temporarily. Yet somehow that does not make the effort meaningless. The courtyard matters today. Tomorrow it will matter again. So he sweeps. The broom whispers across the ground. Dust rises. Dust settles. The motions feel familiar enough to become almost meditative. His mind drifts. Not toward grand dreams. Not toward distant ambitions. Simply through memories. Harvest seasons. Flood years. Childhood afternoons. The faces of people who have come and gone. The sound of his father's voice. The smell of bread from decades earlier. Small memories. Quiet memories. the kinds that arrive unexpectedly during simple tasks. The sun continues lowering. Golden light touches the tops of walls. Palm trees cast longer shadows. The air grows gentler. A pleasant breeze moves through the village. People begin preparing evening meals. Cooking fires appear. Thin streams of smoke rise toward the darkening sky. The scent of roasting food drifts through the lanes. Children return home. Animals settle for the night. Workers complete final tasks. A feeling of calm slowly spreads. The day's labor is ending. For now. Hori places the broom against the wall. The courtyard looks peaceful. Lines left by the sweeping remain visible across the earth. Small signs of care. Small signs of effort. Soon darkness will soften them. Tomorrow new footprints will cross them. New sand will settle there. Life will continue. As it always does. The western sky now glows orange. The Nile reflects the fading light. Its surface appears almost golden. Boats move slowly along the water. Their silhouettes dark against the brightness. The sight feels timeless. Generations have watched the same evening unfold. Parents. Grandparents. Ancestors stretching back beyond memory. All watching sunlight leave the river. All feeling relief as cooler air returns. Night approaches gently. No sudden change. Only gradual fading. The village becomes quieter. Voices soften. Work slows. Cooking fires flicker. Stars begin appearing one by one. The first lights of the heavens return. Just as they did the night before. Just as they will tomorrow. Hori sits in the courtyard with his family. The earth beneath him still holds some warmth from the day. The evening meal is simple. Bread. Vegetables. Perhaps a little fish. Nothing extravagant. Yet enough. The family eats together beneath the deepening sky. Conversation comes easily. Long pauses come easily too. No one feels the need to fill every silence. The sounds of night gradually replace the sounds of day. Crickets begin singing. A distant animal calls. The breeze brushes softly against the walls. The desert beyond the village cools beneath the gathering darkness. And somewhere out there, beyond sight, winds are already moving once more across endless fields of sand. Carrying tomorrow's dust. Preparing tomorrow's drifts. Quietly making their way toward the courtyard where Hori will once again rise before dawn, lift his broom, and begin another peaceful day beneath the ancient Egyptian sky. The evening settles gently over the village. The last colors of sunset fade from the western horizon, leaving behind a sky that grows deeper with every passing moment. The warm glow on the mud brick walls slowly disappears. Shadows merge together. Details soften. The day's labor begins to feel distant. For a little while, people allow themselves to rest. Hori remains seated in the courtyard. The evening meal has ended. The bowls have been cleared away. Nearby, a small oil lamp flickers quietly, casting a circle of soft golden light across the ground. Beyond that small circle, darkness gathers patiently. The air feels different now. The heat that pressed heavily upon the village during the afternoon has loosened its hold. A cooler breeze drifts through the narrow lanes. It carries scents from many homes at once. Bread. Smoke. Clay. River water. Palm wood. The familiar smells of ordinary life. Children yawn. Their energy slowly fades after a long day. One by one they are guided toward sleep. The village itself seems to grow sleepy alongside them. Voices become quieter. Doors close. Footsteps become less frequent. Somewhere nearby, a family shares the final conversation of the evening before settling down for the night. Elsewhere, a worker stretches sore muscles after a day in the fields. A fisherman repairs part of a net by lamplight. A woman folds woven cloth before placing it carefully aside. Across the village, hundreds of small routines unfold. None of them will be recorded by scribes. None will appear on temple walls. Yet together they form the true rhythm of life. Hori watches the stars emerge. The sky over ancient Egypt is remarkably clear. Without smoke from factories or bright city lights, the heavens seem endless. Thousands of stars appear overhead. Some shine brightly. Others glow faintly. The river reflects a few of them upon its surface. Looking upward, one can almost imagine the sky stretching forever. Many Egyptians spend portions of their lives beneath these stars. Workers walking home. Guards standing watch. Boatmen traveling during cooler hours. Farmers rising before dawn. The stars become familiar companions. Reliable markers in a world shaped by natural cycles. The Nile floods. The seasons change. The stars return. Again and again. Hori has spent countless evenings looking at the same sky. Some nights he thinks of little at all. The simple act of resting is enough. Tonight feels like one of those evenings. His body is tired. Not painfully tired. Just the steady fatigue that follows honest work. His hands feel rough. His shoulders heavy. His legs slightly sore. The sensations are familiar. They arrive each evening. Then fade with sleep. Nearby, his wife finishes washing a few simple cooking vessels. Water splashes softly. The sound blends with the distant murmur of the river. For a few moments, everything feels calm. Almost motionless. The night deepens. One by one, oil lamps begin disappearing. Families settle onto mats. Doors remain partly open to encourage airflow. The cooler air is welcome after the long day. Inside many homes, people sleep close together. Space is limited. Yet there is comfort in shared presence. Parents near children. Brothers near sisters. Grandparents nearby. The sounds of breathing gradually replace the sounds of conversation. Hori eventually stands. His courtyard appears peaceful in the moonlight. The surface he swept earlier remains mostly clear. A few scattered grains of sand glimmer faintly. Nothing more. For now, the desert has paused. Tomorrow it will continue. But tonight there is stillness. He enters the house quietly. The room feels cool compared to the afternoon. Moonlight filters through small openings. Soft shadows stretch across the floor. His family is already preparing to sleep. Without speaking much, everyone settles into familiar places. No elaborate rituals. No complicated routines. Just simple preparation for rest. The kind repeated thousands of times throughout a lifetime. Hori lies down. The woven mat beneath him feels firm but familiar. Outside, insects sing softly. A breeze brushes against the walls. The village slowly disappears into sleep. For a while, Hori remains awake. Not because of worry. Simply because the body sometimes takes time to release the day. His thoughts drift lazily. Tomorrow's tasks. The repaired wall. The courtyard. The river. The changing weather. Nothing urgent. Nothing troubling. Just ordinary thoughts moving slowly through a tired mind. Eventually they begin fading. The sounds of the night become more distant. The weight of sleep grows heavier. His breathing slows. And before long, he joins the rest of the village in rest. Hours pass. The moon crosses the sky. The Nile continues flowing through the darkness. Far from the village, desert winds travel across open land. Sand shifts. Tiny dunes change shape. Invisible movements continue throughout the night. The world never completely stops. Yet it feels peaceful. The hours before dawn are among the quietest. Even the insects seem softer. Even the breeze seems slower. The village sleeps beneath the stars. A fisherman dreams beside his nets. A farmer rests after tending fields. A merchant sleeps near goods intended for tomorrow's market. A scribe recovers from a day spent bent over papyrus. Each person carried different burdens through the daylight hours. Now all share the same darkness. The same cool air. The same chance to rest. Slowly, the eastern horizon begins to change. At first the difference is almost impossible to notice. A faint lightning. A subtle shift. Night loosens its grip. The stars closest to the horizon begin fading. The first stage of morning approaches. Birds stir within palm trees. A distant rooster calls. The world prepares itself once more. Hori awakens. Not suddenly. Not fully. His eyes open halfway. He listens. The sounds are familiar. The same sounds that greeted him yesterday. The same sounds that will greet him tomorrow. For a moment he remains still. The air is cool. The room is quiet. Outside, dawn waits. Then slowly he sits up. Another day has arrived. His muscles feel stiff from sleep. His hands remain rough from work. Yet there is comfort in familiarity. The routine asks nothing unexpected. Only the same steady effort as before. He rises. Dresses. Steps outside. The sky is painted in soft shades of gray and blue. A faint pink glow appears far away. The village remains mostly asleep. The air smells fresh. River moisture lingers lightly upon the breeze. And there, waiting exactly where he left it, stands the broom. Its reed fibers are worn. Its handle smooth from years of use. Simple. Reliable. A tool shaped by repetition. Hori picks it up. The courtyard stretches before him. In the dim pre-dawn light, he immediately notices what the night has delivered. Fresh sand. Not a great deal. Just enough. A thin layer gathered along one wall. Several small drifts near a corner. A delicate trail crossing part of the ground. The desert has been busy while everyone slept. He studies the patterns quietly. Each morning reveals a slightly different arrangement. The wind acts like an unseen visitor. Arriving in darkness. Leaving traces behind. Then disappearing before sunrise. Hori begins sweeping. The first strokes of the day sound gentle against the earth. Back and forth. Back and forth. The familiar rhythm returns. The courtyard slowly awakens beneath his care. Dust lifts briefly into the cool air. The broom leaves clean lines behind. The work feels almost peaceful at this hour. There are few distractions. Few interruptions. Only the soft sounds of sweeping and the growing chorus of birds welcoming the dawn. The eastern sky brightens. Colors emerge. Palm leaves become visible. Walls regain their shape. The village begins another cycle. Doors open. People stir. The first cooking fires are prepared. A donkey shakes itself awake. Footsteps appear in distant lanes. Life returns. As Hori works, the first sunlight touches the upper edge of a nearby wall. A thin golden line appears. Then widens. Morning has arrived once again. The Nile glows softly beneath the growing light. Mist drifts above the water. Fields wait for farmers. Boats wait for fishermen. Workshops wait for craftsmen. And the courtyard waits for another day of use. Soon family members will cross it. Meals will be prepared nearby. Conversations will take place there. Children will play there. Visitors may stop there. The space will once again become the center of daily life. But first, it must be swept. So Hori continues. Patiently. Quietly. Moving sand that will surely return. Performing labor that few people notice. Maintaining order against a desert that never stops drifting. One stroke at a time. One morning at a time. 1 year at a time. While beyond the village, the ancient Nile continues its endless journey through the sleeping and waking lands of Egypt, beneath a sky that has watched over countless generations and countless quiet mornings just like this one. The sunlight spreads slowly across the village. At first it touches only the highest places. The tops of palm trees catch the golden light. The edges of rooftops begin to glow. Then, little by little, the brightness descends toward the streets, the courtyards, and the doorways where another day is beginning. Hori continues sweeping. The coolness of dawn still lingers, though he knows it will not last. These early hours are valuable. Work feels lighter before the full weight of the sun settles over the land. The broom moves steadily across the packed earth. Small ridges of sand gather into neat lines. Tiny stones appear where dust had covered them. Footprints left from the previous evening become visible once more. The courtyard slowly regains its familiar appearance. Around him, the village awakens. The sounds arrive gradually. First come the birds. Then distant footsteps. Then the creak of wooden doors. Soon the steady grinding of grain begins from several homes at once. Stone against stone. A slow rhythm. A sound heard across Egypt every morning. For generations it has marked the beginning of the day. Hori pauses for a moment. He leans lightly on the broom and listens. The village feels alive. Not loud. Not busy in the way of great cities. Simply awake. People beginning their routines. People preparing themselves for another day of labor. A woman walks past carrying a clay jar balanced carefully on her head. A young boy follows behind with a smaller vessel in his hands. They are heading toward a nearby water source. The jars will return heavier than they left. Water must be carried. Food must be prepared. Work waits for everyone. Nothing happens by itself. Even the simplest parts of life require effort. The sun climbs a little higher. Warmth begins spreading through the air. The walls surrounding the courtyard slowly release the coolness gathered during the night. Soon they will begin storing heat instead. Hori finishes one section and moves to another. Near the corner of the courtyard stands a large storage jar. Its rounded surface is dusty. A thin layer of sand has gathered around its base. The wind always seems to favor this spot. No matter how often he clears it, more arrives. The desert is patient. It does not hurry. It simply returns. Again and again. The broom brushes around the jar. Dust rises briefly before settling elsewhere. The movement feels familiar enough that he barely thinks about it. His hands know exactly how much pressure to apply. His body understands the rhythm without instruction. Years of repetition have transformed effort into habit. Nearby, the smell of baking bread begins to drift through the morning air. The scent spreads from house to house. Warm, comforting, familiar. Many families are already preparing the first meal of the day. Flat loaves bake upon hot surfaces. Grain ground during the early morning becomes food for the hours ahead. The smell reaches Hori and reminds him that he has not yet eaten. Soon enough. There is still time. The courtyard comes first. A small bird lands briefly upon the wall. It tilts its head, looks around, then disappears into the brightening sky. The moment lasts only seconds. Yet mornings are full of such small events. Tiny movements. Tiny sounds. Tiny changes. Life unfolds quietly when one has the patience to notice. Far beyond the village, fields stretch toward the horizon. The fertile land beside the Nile appears green against the surrounding desert. Farmers are already at work. Some walk behind simple plows. Others carry tools across narrow paths dividing the fields. Many have been awake as long as Hori. Their labor follows the seasons. Planting, watering, harvesting, then beginning again. The cycle never truly ends. The same can be said for the courtyard. Sand arrives. Sand is removed. Sand returns. The work repeats. Yet repetition does not make it meaningless. The space remains useful because someone cares for it. That simple truth shapes much of ordinary life. The first direct sunlight reaches the courtyard floor. Golden light spreads across the earth. The lines left by the broom become clearer. The surface appears smooth and orderly. For now. Hori knows it will not remain this way forever. Nothing does. A child will run through later. A gust of wind will arrive. Dust will settle. Life will leave its marks. Still, there is satisfaction in the moment. The satisfaction of seeing a task completed. Nearby, his wife steps into the courtyard carrying a basket. She nods toward the freshly swept ground. No words are necessary. Both understand the value of small efforts. She begins sorting vegetables brought from the market the previous day. The clean courtyard provides a pleasant place to work. This is exactly why Hori sweeps. Not for appearance alone, but because people live here. Work happens here. Meals are prepared here. Conversations take place here. The space belongs to daily life. As the morning continues, more people appear in the lanes. Neighbors exchange greetings. Children chase one another through patches of sunlight. A merchant passes carrying goods suspended from a pole across his shoulders. His sandals leave faint impressions in the dust. The impressions will vanish before long. Many traces disappear quickly in Egypt. Wind removes them. Footsteps cover them. Time softens them. Only a few survive. Most daily life fades quietly. The sun rises higher. The coolness of dawn becomes a memory. Warm air settles over the village. Shadows shorten slightly. The day gathers momentum. Hori places the broom aside. For now, the courtyard is finished. His work has created a brief moment of order. A pause between the arrival of yesterday's sand and the arrival of tomorrow's. He washes his hands. The water feels pleasant against skin already warming beneath the morning sun. Fine grains of dust swirl away. Some fall to the ground. Others disappear into the earth. Soon breakfast is ready. The family gathers together. Bread rests upon a simple plate. There may be onions. Perhaps dates. Maybe a little fish preserved from an earlier catch. The meal is modest. Yet it provides strength. Strength needed for another day. As they eat, the sounds of the village continue drifting around them. The distant call of a trader. The clatter of pottery being moved. The murmur of conversations. The cry of a child reluctant to begin chores. Ordinary sounds. The soundtrack of ancient life. Hori listens while chewing slowly. There is no need to rush. The day is long. After breakfast he sits quietly for a few moments. The shade still covers part of the courtyard. The earth beneath him remains cool. These peaceful minutes feel valuable. Soon work will call again. Work always does. But for now there is stillness. A breeze arrives from the river. It carries moisture and freshness uncommon in the surrounding desert. The Nile continues its endless journey. Flowing northward. Passing villages. Passing fields. Passing fishermen and traders and farmers. The river never rests. Yet its movement feels calm. Steady. Reliable. Many Egyptians find comfort simply knowing it is there. A source of life. A companion to every season. As the morning advances, Hori prepares for additional labor elsewhere in the village. But before leaving, he glances once more across the courtyard. The surface remains clean. The lines of the broom remain visible. The walls stand quietly in the sunlight. Everything appears peaceful. For a brief moment, he imagines the courtyard exactly as it was yesterday morning. Then the day before. Then countless mornings stretching backward through memory. The same space. The same broom. The same drifting sand. The same patient effort. There is something comforting in such consistency. Not every day is identical. The weather changes. People grow older. Children become adults. Seasons come and go. Yet some things remain familiar. And familiarity offers its own kind of peace. A gust of wind touches the courtyard. Only a small gust. Barely enough to notice. Yet a few grains of sand tumble across the freshly swept ground. Tiny travelers arriving from somewhere beyond the village. Hori watches them move. Then smiles faintly. The desert has already begun again. The work of tomorrow is already on its way. And beneath the bright Egyptian sky, another day unfolds slowly, patiently, and quietly around the simple courtyard that stands between the fertile Nile and the endless sea of sand. The morning settles comfortably over the village. The sun continues its slow climb into the sky, and with each passing hour the cool air of dawn becomes more distant. Warmth spreads across the mud brick walls. The earth beneath countless sandals begins to dry beneath the growing light. Shadows shorten little by little. Hori leaves the courtyard for a time. The broom rests against the wall where it has rested thousands of times before. The courtyard is clean. At least for now. A few scattered grains of sand have already appeared along one edge, but they are hardly worth noticing yet. The wind never truly stops bringing them. It simply changes how quickly they arrive. The village around him is fully awake now. People move through the narrow lanes carrying baskets, tools, jars, and bundles of reeds. Donkeys walk patiently beside their owners. Small groups pause to exchange a few words before continuing toward their tasks. The sounds of daily life blend together. Voices. Footsteps. The creak of wood. The distant splash of water. The steady rhythm of labor. Nothing unusual. Nothing remarkable. Only another ordinary day in ancient Egypt. Hori walks toward a storage area near the edge of the settlement. The path is familiar. His feet know every turn. He has traveled this route so many times that he rarely needs to think about it. The ground beneath him is dusty. Tiny clouds rise around each step before drifting away. The smell of warm earth fills the air. Nearby, a woman carries freshly baked bread toward her home. The scent follows her briefly before disappearing into the morning. It is a comforting smell. Simple food. Simple labor. Simple lives. Many people spend their entire existence surrounded by such things. At the storage area, several workers are already busy. Clay jars stand in neat rows. Bundles of reeds are stacked beneath a shaded shelter. Sacks of grain wait to be moved. The work here is steady. Never hurried. Never ending. One task flows into another. A worker lifts a sack. Another arranges supplies. Someone records deliveries. Someone else prepares materials for transport. The village depends upon countless small actions working together. Most people see only the finished result. The bread. The water. The repaired wall. The clean courtyard. Few think about every step required to make those things possible. Yet the labor exists all the same. The sun rises higher. Heat slowly gathers. Hori helps move supplies throughout the morning. The work is repetitive. Lift. Carry. Set down. Turn. Repeat. His muscles know the rhythm. The body adapts to repetition. Over years, movements become almost automatic. The mind drifts elsewhere. Sometimes toward memories. Sometimes toward observations. Sometimes toward nothing at all. Today his thoughts wander toward the river. The Nile is never far from anyone's mind. Even when unseen, it shapes every aspect of life. The grain in storage jars. The vegetables growing in nearby fields. The fish sold in the market. The water cooling inside clay containers. Everything connects back to the river. Without it, villages like this could not survive. The thought lingers briefly before fading. A worker nearby wipes sweat from his brow. Another stretches an aching shoulder. The day grows warmer. Everyone feels it. No one comments on it. The heat is simply part of life. Like the sand. Like the river. Like the passing seasons. Acceptance comes naturally after enough years. Around midday, activity slows. Not completely, but noticeably. The brightest hours encourage patience. People seek patches of shade whenever possible. Animals do the same. Even birds seem quieter. The village settles into a slower rhythm. Hori returns home for a short rest. As he enters the courtyard, he immediately notices a few fresh traces of sand. The wind has been busy. Not much. Only enough to create delicate patterns near the base of one wall. Still, they catch his attention. The desert is always working. Even while people focus elsewhere. He studies the tiny drifts. Each one shaped differently. Each one formed by invisible currents moving through the air. The patterns seem almost artistic. Yet they are temporary. A single sweep of the broom will erase them. The thought does not bother him. Impermanence is familiar. Footprints vanish. Dust settles. Water flows onward. Nothing remains exactly the same for long. Hori sits beneath a patch of shade. The earth feels cooler there. His family rests nearby. Conversation is minimal. The heat encourages silence. For a while they simply listen. A distant donkey. The soft rustle of palm leaves. The occasional murmur from neighboring courtyards. The village feels sleepy beneath the midday sun. Children who were energetic earlier now sit quietly. Some nap. Others lie in the shade watching clouds drift far overhead. The slower pace feels natural. Ancient Egypt often follows the rhythm of temperature. Work hard during the cool hours. Rest when the heat demands it. Resume when the day begins to soften again. Hori closes his eyes briefly. Not to sleep. Just to rest. The shade feels pleasant. A breeze passes through the courtyard. It carries faint traces of river water. The scent is subtle, yet recognizable. The Nile announces itself in many small ways. Eventually he opens his eyes. The sunlight has shifted slightly. Time moves quietly. Without clocks. Without bells. People learn to read the day through shadows, temperature, and habit. The position of the sun becomes a guide. A trusted companion. Nearby, a child traces shapes in the dust with a stick. The lines appear and disappear beneath small gusts of wind. No one worries about preserving them. The joy exists in the making, not in permanence. This understanding surrounds much of daily life. Many tasks must be repeated. Many accomplishments fade. The courtyard will require sweeping again. The walls will require repair again. The grain must be ground again. The bread must be baked again. The cycle continues endlessly. Yet people continue performing the work. Not because it lasts forever. Because it matters today. The afternoon slowly begins. The harshest heat eases little by little. Activity returns. A few neighbors pass through the lane outside. Their voices drift over the wall. Someone laughs softly. Someone discusses market prices. Someone complains about a stubborn donkey. Ordinary conversations. The kind shared countless times across generations. Hori stands and stretches. His joints feel stiff from resting. A common feeling. The body rarely remains comfortable for long after years of physical labor. He walks across the courtyard. A few more grains of sand crunch beneath his sandals. Tiny reminders. The broom waits nearby. Soon enough. Not yet. The day still has hours remaining. Instead, he turns his attention toward a storage jar requiring inspection. The clay surface shows signs of wear. Nothing serious. Just the small effects of time. Everything ages. Everything requires care. Even simple objects. He runs his hand along the jar's side. The surface feels warm from sunlight. Rough in some places. Smooth in others. Years of use have left their mark. The village is filled with such objects. Tools repaired repeatedly. Baskets patched and reused. Jars maintained carefully. Nothing is discarded casually. Creating replacements requires effort. And effort is valuable. The afternoon breeze strengthens slightly. Palm leaves begin moving overhead. The air feels more comfortable. People emerge from shade. The village slowly awakens from its midday quietness. A fisherman walks past carrying nets over one shoulder. A merchant guides a donkey loaded with goods. Children return to games abandoned earlier. Life resumes its familiar rhythm. Hori notices a thin stream of sand moving along the ground. A tiny ribbon pushed by the breeze. It slides across part of the courtyard before settling near the wall. The sight feels strangely comforting. Predictable. Expected. The desert keeping its appointment. Every day. Every season. Every year. The grains gather patiently. Waiting for tomorrow morning. Waiting for the broom. Waiting for Hori. The sun begins its slow journey toward evening. Its light grows softer. Longer shadows appear. The village prepares for another transition. Work gradually gives way to rest. The heat slowly releases its hold. And in the courtyard, beneath the warm Egyptian sky, the first small signs of tomorrow's sweeping quietly take shape, grain by grain, as the endless conversation between wind, sand, and human effort continues once more. The afternoon slowly leans toward evening. The change arrives so gradually that few people notice it at first. The sunlight remains bright, yet something in the air begins to soften. The harsh edge of midday fades. Shadows lengthen across the village paths. The walls that absorbed heat throughout the day start releasing it back into the air. Hori stands quietly in the courtyard. A gentle breeze moves across the ground. It carries with it a few wandering grains of sand. They travel only a short distance before settling once more. For a moment he watches them. There is no frustration in his gaze. Only familiarity. The desert has behaved this way for longer than anyone can remember. The wind carries sand. The sand settles. People sweep it away. Then the cycle begins again. Around him, the village grows more active. Workers return from fields near the Nile. Their sandals are dusty. Their clothing carries the smell of earth and sunlight. Many have spent the day bending over crops beneath the heat. Others have repaired irrigation channels or tended animals. The work leaves them tired. Yet there is comfort in returning home. A fisherman walks through the lane carrying part of the day's catch. The fish glisten faintly in the late sunlight. Nearby, a merchant unloads goods from a patient donkey. Clay jars clink softly together. Bundles of reeds are stacked carefully beside a wall. Life continues through hundreds of small tasks. Most are simple. Most are repetitive. Yet together they hold the village together. The breeze strengthens slightly. Palm fronds sway overhead. Their leaves create soft rustling sounds. The noise feels pleasant after the stillness of the hottest hours. Children emerge once more. Their energy seems endless. They run through the lanes. They chase each other around corners. They invent games with sticks, stones, and imagination. Their laughter drifts through the village. For a little while, the tiredness of the day feels lighter. Hori smiles faintly as he watches them. He remembers being young. Long ago. Before years of labor settled into his shoulders. Before daily routines became so deeply familiar. Before every season seemed to pass more quickly than the one before. Memory arrives gently. Like the breeze. Then drifts away again. The sunlight changes color. Bright white slowly becomes warm gold. The mud brick walls begin glowing softly. The village appears calmer in this light. More peaceful. Almost dreamlike. The Nile reflects the same golden glow. Beyond the fields, the river moves steadily northward. Always moving. Always flowing. Never pausing. The sight comforts many people. Its consistency brings reassurance. No matter how difficult a season may be, the river remains. No matter how many years pass, it continues its journey. Hori walks to the edge of the courtyard. From there he can see part of the lane outside. Neighbors pass by. Some carry baskets. Others carry tools. A few stop briefly to exchange greetings. Conversations remain simple. The weather. The harvest. A repair needing attention. The condition of a donkey. The price of grain. Small subjects, yet important ones. Ordinary life is built from ordinary concerns. As the afternoon continues, cooking fires begin appearing throughout the village. Thin streams of smoke rise into the sky. The scent of evening meals slowly spreads. Bread warming over heat. Vegetables cooking. Fish being prepared. The smells drift from courtyard to courtyard. Each household adding its own small contribution to the evening air. The village feels alive, yet never rushed. Everything unfolds at a human pace. A walking pace. A carrying pace. A working pace. Nothing arrives instantly. Everything requires time. The meal must be prepared. The grain must be ground. The water must be carried. The walls must be repaired. The courtyard must be swept. Time is woven into every activity. Hori reaches for the broom once more. Not because the courtyard is particularly dirty. Only because he notices a small gathering of sand near one corner. The habit is strong. The sight naturally leads to action. He begins sweeping. The familiar scraping sound returns. Soft. Steady. Rhythmic. Back and forth. Back and forth. The movement feels almost calming. The broom gathers sand into small piles. Dust rises briefly. Then settles again. The evening sunlight stretches across the courtyard. Long shadows move slowly over the ground. As Hori works, his mind drifts. Not toward important matters. Simply toward observations. The shape of a cloud. The movement of a bird overhead. The smell of smoke from a nearby cooking fire. The sound of a distant conversation. Simple details. The kind often overlooked. Yet these small things fill most of life. The great events remembered by history occupy only brief moments. Most days consist of smaller experiences. Meals. Work. Rest. Conversations. Sunlight. Wind. Dust. The quiet repetition of ordinary existence. The courtyard grows clean once more. Fresh lines appear where the broom has passed. The earth looks smooth and cared for. For a moment, everything feels orderly. Hori sets the broom aside. The task is complete. At least until tomorrow. The sun continues descending. The sky becomes richer in color. Orange and gold spread along the horizon. Palm trees appear darker against the brightness. Birds return to their resting places. Their calls echo briefly before fading. The village begins preparing for night. Animals are secured. Tools are put away. Work slows. The pace of movement changes. People no longer hurry to finish tasks. Instead, they transition gently toward rest. The heat continues fading. Cooler air arrives from the river. The change feels welcome. Even the earth beneath the courtyard seems more comfortable. Hori sits down. His family gathers nearby. The evening meal is nearly ready. The familiar scents drift through the air. Bread. Cooked vegetables. A little fish. Simple food. Enough food. The kind eaten by countless families throughout Egypt. As darkness approaches, the sounds of labor gradually disappear. Workshops become quieter. Fields empty. Merchants finish their business. Only a few voices remain. The village exhales. The day's effort is done. For now. The meal is shared beneath the deepening sky. The conversation is unhurried. Long pauses feel natural. No one rushes to fill silence. The cooling air itself feels satisfying. A reward after hours spent beneath the sun. Nearby, a small oil lamp is lit. Its flame flickers softly. Golden light dances across the courtyard wall. The shadows move gently. The atmosphere becomes peaceful. Almost sleepy. The first stars begin appearing overhead. One by one. Tiny points of light emerging from the darkening blue. Children look upward. Parents follow their gaze. For a few moments, everyone shares the same sky. The same stars. The same quiet evening. The Nile continues flowing unseen beyond the fields. Its waters reflect the growing night. Boats move slowly through the darkness. Fishermen prepare for another journey. Others return from one. Life along the river never completely stops. Yet it remains calm. Measured. Steady. Night settles fully over the village. The last colors disappear from the horizon. The stars grow brighter. The air grows cooler. Voices soften. The courtyard that was swept so carefully now rests beneath moonlight. Its surface appears smooth and peaceful. Only a few scattered grains of sand catch the pale light. Tiny reminders of the desert beyond. The wind continues its quiet work far across the dunes. Carrying tomorrow's sand. Preparing tomorrow's patterns. Making its slow journey toward the village. Toward the courtyard. Toward the broom waiting beside the wall. And while the people of the village gradually prepare for sleep, the ancient land itself remains awake in its own gentle way, beneath the endless stars and beside the patient waters of the Nile. Night settles completely across the village. The last traces of daylight have vanished beyond the western horizon. The sky above the Nile is now deep and dark, filled with countless stars. Their light seems sharper in the dry desert air. Some shimmer softly. Others burn with steady brightness. The village rests beneath them. From a distance, only a few small lamps remain visible. Tiny points of golden light surrounded by darkness. Most families have finished their evening meals. Most tools have been put away. Most conversations have faded into silence. The busy sounds of daylight feel far away now. Hori remains seated in the courtyard for a little longer. The earth beneath him has finally cooled. The warmth stored throughout the day slowly escapes into the night air. A gentle breeze moves through the village. It brushes against walls, passes through doorways, and stirs loose grains of sand resting on the ground. The breeze feels pleasant. No longer carrying the heat of afternoon. No longer heavy. Only soft and refreshing. Nearby, his children have grown sleepy. One leans against a parent. Another struggles to keep tired eyes open. The day has been long. Children spend their energy freely. Sleep often finds them quickly. Soon they disappear inside the house. Their footsteps become quiet. Their voices fade. The courtyard grows still once more. Hori looks upward. The stars have always fascinated him. Not because he understands every mystery of the heavens. Very few people do. But because they are constant. Reliable. Night after night. Season after season. The same familiar patterns return. Farmers notice them. Boatmen notice them. Travelers crossing desert paths notice them. The stars become companions to anyone who spends enough time outdoors. Tonight they seem especially bright. The air is clear. No clouds drift overhead. Only endless darkness filled with distant lights. Beyond the village, the Nile flows quietly through the night. Its surface reflects portions of the sky. Moonlight dances upon the water. The river appears calm. Yet beneath the surface, the current continues its patient movement northward. Always moving. Always carrying life. Even while most people sleep. A fisherman somewhere downstream guides a small boat through the darkness. A guard watches from a riverside storehouse. A traveler rests beside the water after a long journey. The Nile belongs to everyone. Yet it never belongs entirely to anyone. It simply continues. Just as it has for countless generations. Hori listens carefully. The village at night has its own sounds. Different from the sounds of day. More subtle. More widely spaced. An insect sings nearby. A dog barks once in the distance. Palm leaves rustle softly. Somewhere, a donkey shifts its weight and settles again. The sounds never feel intrusive. They simply remind him that life continues. Even during rest. Eventually he rises. The hour grows late. His body feels heavy with pleasant fatigue. The kind earned through ordinary labor. The kind that encourages deep sleep. Before entering the house, he glances across the courtyard one final time. Moonlight covers the ground. The lines left by the broom earlier have softened. Not erased. Just gentler. Less distinct. A few tiny trails of sand have already appeared near one wall. The wind has been busy. Even now. Even during the quietest hours. The sight makes him smile faintly. Tomorrow's work has already begun. The desert wastes no time. Inside the house, the air feels cooler than it did during the day. The thick mud brick walls help hold back some of the heat. The room is simple. A few possessions. A few storage containers. Sleeping mats arranged across the floor. Nothing extravagant. Yet it provides shelter. Protection. A place to rest. And for most families, that is enough. Hori lies down. The woven mat presses gently beneath him. His muscles relax. The soreness in his shoulders becomes less noticeable. The tiredness of the day slowly transforms into sleepiness. Outside, the night continues. The stars move gradually across the sky. The moon climbs higher. Hours pass. The village sinks deeper into sleep. Dreams fill quiet rooms. Children dream of games. Workers dream of familiar places. Old memories drift through sleeping minds. The world becomes softer. Gentler. The night embraces everything. Far beyond the village, desert winds travel across open dunes. The landscape changes slowly beneath moonlight. Tiny ridges shift. Small drifts form. Grains of sand begin journeys that may last hours, days, or even longer. Most will never be noticed individually. Yet together they shape the land. The same grains that move across distant dunes may eventually arrive in Hori's courtyard. The connection is invisible. Yet real. The desert and the village are never truly separate. Each influences the other. Throughout the night, temperatures continue falling. The air becomes cooler. More comfortable. The heat stored in walls and earth gradually disappears. People sleep deeply. The hardest laborers often sleep the most soundly. Their bodies welcome rest. Their minds release the day. Hori sleeps peacefully. His breathing remains slow and steady. Tomorrow holds no great surprises. No dramatic changes. Only familiar tasks. And there is comfort in that knowledge. The courtyard will need attention. The village will awaken. The river will flow. The sun will rise. Some might consider such repetition boring. Yet repetition creates stability. It creates rhythm. It creates a life that feels understandable, predictable, safe. The night drifts onward. The moon slowly crosses the sky. Stars fade from one horizon and appear on another. Time moves quietly through the darkness. Eventually, the first hint of dawn begins to approach. The change is subtle, almost impossible to notice at first. The eastern horizon becomes slightly less dark. The stars nearest it lose a little brightness. Birds remain silent. Most people continue sleeping. Yet morning is already beginning its long arrival. The ancient world stirs. Very slowly. Very gently. The Nile reflects the faintest traces of approaching light. Mist gathers above parts of the water. Thin ribbons of silver drifting through the darkness. The scene feels peaceful. Timeless. Much as it must have appeared hundreds of years earlier. Much as it may appear hundreds of years later. The river cares little for human schedules. It simply flows through them. A bird calls. Only once. Then silence returns. A few moments later, another answers from somewhere among the palms. The village remains asleep. But not for much longer. The eastern sky continues brightening. Dark blue replaces black. Soft gray begins appearing along the horizon. The first stage of dawn unfolds. Hori shifts slightly in his sleep. His body senses the coming morning. Years of routine have taught him when to wake. No clock is needed. No bell is required. The rhythm exists inside him. The same rhythm followed by countless workers across Egypt. The rhythm of sunlight. The rhythm of labor. The rhythm of rest. Outside, the courtyard waits quietly. The broom rests where it was left. A few new grains of sand have gathered beside it. More have settled near the walls. Small drifts have formed in familiar corners. The night has completed its work. Now the morning prepares to begin its own. The first true light of dawn touches the distant horizon. The stars start fading one by one. Palm trees emerge from darkness. The outlines of roofs become visible. Another day is approaching. Another day beside the Nile. Another day among the mud brick homes and dusty paths. Another day of bread baking, water carrying, field tending, fishing, repairing, resting, and sweeping. And as the ancient land slowly awakens beneath a sky turning pale with morning, the quiet courtyard waits patiently for the sound of footsteps, the lifting of a reed broom, and the beginning of yet another ordinary and peaceful day. The first light of dawn spreads quietly across the land. The change happens so slowly that it almost feels invisible. Darkness loosens its hold little by little. The stars retreat into the brightening sky. The outlines of palm trees become clearer. Mud brick walls emerge from shadow. The Nile reflects the earliest colors of morning. Its surface appears smooth and peaceful. Thin strands of mist drift above the water. For a brief time, the river seems to belong entirely to silence. Most of the village still sleeps. Doors remain closed. Cooking fires remain dark. The dusty lanes lie empty beneath the pale light. Yet the day is already beginning. The ancient world never truly stands still. Inside his home, Hori slowly opens his eyes. For a moment he remains where he is. The air feels cool against his skin. The pleasant chill of early morning lingers in the room. Soon it will disappear beneath the growing warmth of the sun. But not yet. For now, Dawn offers a final gift of coolness. He listens. The village is waking. A bird calls from somewhere nearby. Another answers from farther away. Palm leaves rustle softly. The breeze carries the scent of river water. The sounds are familiar. They have greeted him for years. Perhaps for most of his life. He sits up carefully. His muscles feel stiff. His shoulders carry the memory of yesterday's labor. His hands remain rough from countless days of work. None of it surprises him. The body records every season. Every task. Every year spent beneath the Egyptian sun. Slowly he rises. The house remains quiet. His family still sleeps. The children breathe softly upon their mats. Their faces appear peaceful in the dim light. For a few moments, Hori simply watches them. Morning often begins with silence. A calm pause before the movement of the day. Then he steps outside. The courtyard greets him. The sight is familiar. Yet somehow new. Every dawn brings subtle changes. A different arrangement of sand. A different pattern left by the wind. A different quality of light. This morning is no exception. Fine grains have gathered near the northern wall. Small ribbons of sand stretch across part of the ground. A corner that was perfectly clean yesterday now carries a thin drift. The desert has visited once again. Quietly. Patiently. While everyone slept. Hori reaches for the broom. Its worn handle feels comfortable in his hands. The wood has become smooth over years of use. Some tools become almost like companions. Not because they possess importance, but because they remain present through so much of life. The broom is one of those things. It has accompanied countless mornings, countless dawns, countless ordinary days. He begins sweeping. The first sound is soft. A gentle scraping across packed earth. Back and forth. Back and forth. The rhythm returns immediately. His body remembers it. His hands guide the broom almost without thought. The courtyard slowly changes beneath his effort. Lines appear. Sand gathers into small piles. The ground regains its familiar appearance. The work feels peaceful. Especially at this hour. The world has not yet become busy. There are few distractions. Only the sound of sweeping. The breeze. The birds. And the distant murmur of the river. The eastern sky brightens further. Soft shades of gold appear above the horizon. The tops of palm trees catch the first sunlight. Their leaves glow briefly before the light spreads downward. A new day has truly begun. Around the village, other workers awaken. A farmer steps outside and stretches. A fisherman prepares nets beside the river. A baker begins heating an oven. A woman lifts a clay jar and starts toward a water source. Every person enters the day through their own routine. Every person carries responsibilities. The village awakens one task at a time. Hori continues sweeping. A small bird lands nearby. It hops across the courtyard. Examining the ground. Searching for something invisible to human eyes. Then it suddenly lifts into the air and disappears. The moment lasts only seconds. Yet such moments fill every morning. Tiny events. Tiny movements. Tiny pieces of life. The kind easily overlooked. The sun rises higher. Light spreads across the walls. The courtyard begins warming beneath Hori's feet. The coolness of dawn slowly retreats. The day moves forward. Soon the village becomes busier. Doors open. Footsteps appear in the lanes. Voices drift through the morning air. Children awaken. Donkeys announce themselves loudly. The familiar sounds of life return. One by one. As they always do. The smell of baking bread soon follows. Warm. Rich. Comforting. The scent drifts over walls and through courtyards. Many people notice it without thinking. It is simply part of morning. Part of home. Part of life. Hori pauses briefly. The smell reaches him. His stomach reminds him that breakfast is approaching. Yet first he finishes the task before him. The final pile of sand waits near the corner wall. He gathers it carefully. The grains slide together with a soft whisper. A tiny hill created by the night's wandering wind. Soon it joins the others inside a woven basket. The courtyard looks clean once more. For now. The battle is not won. It never will be. The desert does not surrender. The desert simply pauses. Tomorrow more sand will arrive. The next day more will follow. The cycle continues. And somehow that feels reassuring. Predictable. Reliable. Part of the natural order. Hori carries the basket toward the edge of the settlement. The path feels cool beneath his sandals. Morning remains young. Farmers pass him heading toward fields. Some carry tools over their shoulders. Others lead animals. Everyone has somewhere to be. Everyone has work waiting. He empties the basket. The sand falls quietly onto the ground, returning to the landscape from which it came. Then he turns back toward home. The village grows brighter with each passing moment. Sunlight fills the lanes. Shadows retreat. The day gathers strength. Back in the courtyard, breakfast preparations have begun. His family is awake now. The quiet solitude of dawn has ended. In its place comes the gentle activity of morning life. A child carries a basket. Another fetches water. His wife arranges food. Simple tasks. Necessary tasks. The small actions that support daily existence. The courtyard begins serving its purpose once more. People move through it. Work takes place within it. Life unfolds there. This is why Hori sweeps. Not because anyone commands it. Not because anyone records it. But because ordinary spaces deserve care. The thought stays with him as he sits beneath a patch of morning shade. The earth still feels cool. The breeze still carries traces of the river. For a few moments, before the day becomes fully busy, he allows himself to rest. Nearby, bread is placed before the family. Warm from the fire. The smell fills the air. Children begin eating. Conversation starts softly. The village continues awakening around them. Beyond the walls, merchants prepare goods. Craftsmen open workshops. Boats begin moving along the Nile. The world grows steadily more active. Yet here in the courtyard, for this brief morning moment, there is calm. The work of dawn is complete. The sand has been swept away. The day stretches ahead. Long. Warm. Familiar. And beneath the rising Egyptian sun, beside the patient river and beyond the endless desert, another ordinary day begins exactly as countless days have begun before. The morning continues to unfold across the village. The sun rises steadily above the eastern horizon, climbing higher into a sky that is clear and pale. The cool breath of dawn is fading now. In its place comes the familiar warmth that will remain until evening. The courtyard is alive with quiet activity. Breakfast has ended. The simple meal has provided strength for the hours ahead. The smell of warm bread still lingers faintly in the air, mixing with the scent of clay walls, woven baskets, and dust carried on the breeze. Hori sits for a few moments longer. These peaceful moments after the morning meal are small treasures. They never last very long. Work always waits. Yet for now, there is time to simply observe. A shaft of sunlight reaches across part of the courtyard. Dust drifts lazily through the beam. Tiny grains spin and float before disappearing from sight. The movement is slow and gentle. Almost hypnotic. Nearby, one of the children traces circles in the earth with a small stick. The lines appear clearly for a moment. Then a breeze softens their edges. Soon they will vanish completely. Like so many things. Like footprints. Like drifting sand. Like countless ordinary moments. Nothing remains exactly as it was. The village beyond the walls grows busier. The sounds arrive gradually. A merchant calling to customers. The creak of a loaded cart. The distant tapping of a craftsman shaping wood. A donkey protesting some task it would rather avoid. Voices rise and fall. The day gathers momentum. Hori eventually stands. His brief rest is over. The familiar stiffness in his legs reminds him that another day of labor has begun. He steps into the lane outside. The earth beneath his sandals is already warming. The sunlight reflects softly from the pale walls surrounding him. Many of the homes look similar. Mud brick. Flat roofs. Simple doorways. Small courtyards hidden behind walls. Nothing grand. Nothing designed to impress. Yet each home contains a world of its own. Families. Memories. Routines. Lives unfolding day after day. As he walks, neighbors pass by. Some offer quiet greetings. Others nod in acknowledgement. Most continue toward their work. Everyone understands the value of time during the cooler hours. The heat will arrive soon enough. Near the center of the village, activity is increasing. A potter arranges freshly made vessels outside a workshop. Their clay surfaces glow softly in the sunlight. Each jar represents hours of effort. Digging clay. Mixing it. Shaping it. Drying it. Firing it. One simple object contains many hidden tasks. The same is true for almost everything. Bread requires planting. Harvesting. Grinding. Mixing. Baking. Water requires carrying. Storage. Careful use. Nothing arrives without labor. The ancient world depends upon countless hands. Hori continues walking. The smell of river water drifts through the air. The Nile is not far away. Soon he reaches a path leading toward the fields. The sight before him is familiar. Green crops stretch across fertile land. Canals carry water where it is needed. Farmers move steadily between rows. The contrast between riverland and desert remains striking. Life and dryness. Green and gold. Growth and sand. The Nile creates this narrow ribbon of abundance. Without it, the landscape would be entirely different. A farmer lifts a hand in greeting as Hori passes. His face already glistens with sweat. The day is still young. Yet labor has been underway for hours. Many people begin work before sunrise. Especially during warmer seasons. Every cool hour is valuable. The farther he walks, the more clearly he hears the sounds of agriculture. Water splashing into channels. Tools scraping soil. Workers speaking softly. Animals moving through fields. These sounds have echoed beside the Nile for generations. Children hear them, then grow into adults who create the same sounds themselves. Life moves in circles. The thought follows Hori as he helps with several small tasks near the edge of a field. Nothing complicated. Nothing memorable. Just the sort of work that fills ordinary days. Carrying tools. Moving supplies. Checking a small irrigation channel. The hours pass quietly. The sun climbs higher. Its warmth becomes more noticeable. Shadows grow shorter. The earth grows brighter. The scent of damp soil slowly fades beneath the increasing heat. By mid-morning, sweat forms across foreheads throughout the fields. Workers pause occasionally to drink water. Conversations become less frequent. Energy is saved for labor. The sun demands respect. Everyone understands this. The desert teaches patience. The climate teaches endurance. The body learns to adapt. Hori pauses beside a canal. The water moves slowly. Its surface reflects the bright sky above. Dragonflies hover nearby. Tiny ripples spread outward whenever insects touch the water. For a few moments he watches. The scene feels peaceful. The flowing water. The gentle sounds. The warm sunlight. There is no urgency here. Only the steady passage of another day. Eventually he returns toward the village. The path is more active now. Merchants travel between settlements. Children carry messages. Workers transport supplies. The world feels awake. Fully awake. As he approaches home, the familiar sight of his courtyard wall appears ahead. The simple structure stands quietly beneath the growing heat. Just as it has for years. The courtyard beyond it waits. A place of work. A place of rest. A place where daily life unfolds. When Hori steps inside, he notices something immediately. Near the western wall, a faint scattering of sand has already appeared. Only a little. Barely enough to matter. Yet it catches his eye. The wind has been visiting once again. Even during the morning. Even while he was away. A few grains here. A few grains there. The process never stops. He kneels briefly and lets some of the sand slip through his fingers. The grains feel warm. Fine. Smooth. Thousands of tiny pieces of the desert. Each carried by air. Each eventually coming to rest somewhere. Perhaps here. Perhaps elsewhere. The journey itself remains invisible. Only the result can be seen. Hori stands again. The broom remains nearby. Waiting. There is no need to use it yet. The amount is too small. Tomorrow morning will be soon enough. The desert can keep this tiny victory for one day. He smiles at the thought. Then turns his attention elsewhere. The village hums softly beyond the walls. The sun continues climbing. The heat continues building. And in the courtyard, where fresh traces of sand already hint at tomorrow's work, another peaceful morning slowly drifts toward midday beneath the endless Egyptian sky. The morning gradually gives way to midday. The change happens with quiet certainty. The sun climbs higher and higher until it seems to hang almost directly above the village. The shadows that stretched across the ground during dawn have become small and thin. Walls cast only narrow strips of shade. The bright sky appears endless. The heat grows stronger. People feel it in different ways. Workers in the fields notice sweat gathering more quickly. Merchants walking dusty roads feel the warmth pressing against their shoulders. Children become less eager to run beneath the open sun. Even animals begin searching for cooler places to rest. The entire village slowly adjusts its pace. Hori stands in the courtyard and looks upward. The sunlight is bright. Almost white. The air shimmers slightly above distant rooftops. Everything seems wrapped in warmth. He moves toward a shaded corner beside the wall. The difference is immediate. Only a few steps separate sunlight from relief. The shade feels precious during these hours. Throughout Egypt, countless people seek the same comfort. Farmers pause beneath trees. Fishermen rest beneath simple shelters. Craftsmen work beneath covered spaces whenever possible. The sun shapes daily life. It decides when work begins. It influences when people rest. It guides the rhythm of entire communities. The courtyard is quieter now. The energy of early morning has faded. Children sit beneath shade. Voices are softer. Movement becomes more deliberate. No one wishes to waste strength unnecessarily. The heat encourages patience. Hori settles onto a low stool. Nearby, a clay jar holds water gathered earlier in the day. Its surface feels cool to the touch. Tiny droplets cling to the outside. The sight alone feels refreshing. He pours a small amount into a cup and drinks slowly. The water carries a faint earthy taste from the clay vessel. It is familiar. Comforting. Simple. Many of life's greatest comforts are simple. A cool drink. A patch of shade. A gentle breeze. The sound of water nearby. The smell of bread baking in the distance. These small things become valuable during long days. Outside the courtyard wall, the village continues functioning. Work has not stopped. It has only slowed. A potter continues shaping clay. A carpenter continues repairing a wooden frame. A merchant continues arranging goods for sale. Life moves forward. Just a little more slowly than before. A warm breeze drifts through the courtyard. It carries dust with it. Tiny grains sparkle briefly in the sunlight before settling. Some land against the wall. Some settle near the storage jar. A few drift across the ground where Hori swept earlier. The desert never completely leaves. Even during moments of rest. Even during meals. Even during sleep. Its presence remains constant. Yet most people hardly think about it anymore. The desert is simply part of the world around them. As natural as sunlight. As familiar as the Nile. Hori watches the drifting sand for a while. The movement is almost graceful. Invisible currents carry the grains gently through the air. Then gravity takes over. The journey ends. At least for now. Tomorrow another breeze may lift them once again. The thought feels strangely peaceful. Nothing remains still forever. The river flows. The wind moves. The seasons change. Life continues. The afternoon will come. Then evening. Then night. Then another dawn. The cycle repeats endlessly. Nearby, one of the children has fallen asleep. The heat often brings drowsiness. The child rests against a folded blanket. Breathing slowly. Completely relaxed. The sight makes the courtyard feel even quieter. Beyond the walls, sounds drift through the air. The distant call of a merchant. A donkey's complaint. The occasional laughter of someone sharing a story. The sounds arrive softened by distance. None disturb the calm. Instead, they create a gentle background to the day. The village feels sleepy. Not inactive. Simply slower. Like a river widening before narrowing again. A pause. A moment of rest between more active hours. Hori closes his eyes briefly. The shade feels pleasant. The breeze brushes softly against his face. The sounds around him blend together. Palm leaves rustling. Water moving somewhere in the distance. Insects humming quietly. For a few moments, there is nothing demanding his attention. Nothing requiring effort. Only stillness. Such moments are rare enough to appreciate, yet common enough to feel familiar. Ancient life contains many forms of labor. But it also contains pauses. Moments when people simply exist. Moments when they sit quietly and watch the day unfold. These pauses matter. They help carry people through the harder hours. Eventually, Hori opens his eyes again. The sunlight has shifted slightly. Time continues moving. Even when nothing seems to happen. The shadow beside the wall has changed shape. The brightness of the courtyard floor has changed. Small details reveal the passing hours. No clocks are needed. The sun tells the story. A neighbor passes outside carrying a bundle of reeds. The footsteps crunch softly upon the dusty path. Soon they fade. Then silence returns. The breeze stirs once more. A few additional grains of sand appear near the center of the courtyard. Tiny visitors from beyond the village. Tiny reminders of the vast desert surrounding this narrow ribbon of life along the Nile. The contrast remains remarkable. Fields rich with crops. Water flowing steadily. Villages filled with people. And beyond it all, endless stretches of sand reaching toward distant horizons. The two worlds exist side by side. Each shaping the other. The river gives life. The desert tests endurance. Together they create the Egypt that Hori knows. The heat reaches its peak. This is the warmest part of the day. Many people rest if they can. Others continue working because necessity demands it. The village settles into its quietest hours. Even birds seem less active. Even the breeze pauses occasionally. Everything feels suspended beneath the bright sky. Hori remains seated. Patient. Relaxed. There is no reason to hurry. Soon enough the sun will begin its slow descent. The air will cool. Work will become easier. Voices will grow louder again. Children will return to play. Cooking fires will appear. Evening will arrive. But not yet. For now, the world rests beneath the midday sun. The courtyard remains peaceful. The broom waits beside the wall. The clay jar holds cool water. A few scattered grains of sand rest upon the ground. The Nile continues flowing beyond the fields. And high above it all, the Egyptian sun shines steadily over the village, warming every rooftop, every path, every courtyard, and every ordinary life that unfolds beneath its ancient light. The brightest hours of the day begin to pass. Slowly, almost unnoticed, the sun starts its long journey toward the western horizon. The change is gentle. The heat remains, but its grip loosens little by little. The air feels slightly easier to breathe. Shadows begin stretching once again across the dusty ground. The village awakens from its midday stillness. Not suddenly. Gradually. A door opens. Footsteps appear in a nearby lane. A voice calls to a neighbor. The sounds of activity return one by one. Hori rises from the shade. His legs feel stiff after sitting. His shoulders carry the familiar weight of many years of work. For a moment he stretches. The movement feels good. The body appreciates motion after long periods of rest. Across the courtyard, sunlight paints warm patterns against the wall. The brightness has softened. No longer harsh. No longer blinding. The afternoon light seems gentler somehow, more forgiving. A breeze arrives from the direction of the Nile. It carries the faint scent of water and growing plants. The smell is subtle, yet unmistakable. Life along the river always announces itself in small ways. Hori walks slowly across the courtyard. His sandals press lightly into the earth. The surface remains mostly clean. Only a scattering of fresh sand has appeared since morning. Tiny drifts gather in familiar places. Near the storage jar. Along the base of the wall. In the corners where the wind likes to rest. The sight feels comforting. Predictable. Part of the rhythm of the world. Some people measure time through seasons. Others through harvests. Hori often measures it through sand. How much arrived overnight? How much gathered during the day? How much the wind carried from one place to another? The desert keeps its own quiet calendar. Outside the courtyard, children begin returning to their games. The cooler air invites movement. Laughter drifts over the walls. A stick strikes a stone. Small feet race along dusty paths. Their energy seems endless. The village feels younger when children are playing. Livelier. Brighter. Their voices echo through spaces that were silent only an hour earlier. Nearby, a woman shakes a woven mat. Dust rises briefly into the sunlight. Then disappears. The motion reminds Hori of his own work. Much of daily life involves clearing away what naturally gathers. Dust. Sand. Leaves. Broken reeds. The world is always changing. Always settling. Always moving. People simply guide it for a while. A donkey walks past the entrance to the courtyard. Its load consists of baskets filled with vegetables from nearby fields. The animal moves patiently. Steadily. Without complaint. The baskets sway gently with each step. The sight is ordinary. So ordinary that few people stop to notice. Yet scenes like this fill every day. And together they create the texture of life. The afternoon continues. A craftsman somewhere nearby resumes his work. The sound of hammer against wood carries through the air. Slow. Measured. Unhurried. Each strike separated by moments of concentration. A fisherman passes on his way toward the river. Nets rest over one shoulder. The fibers have been repaired many times. Patched. Strengthened. Used again. Nothing is wasted if it can still serve a purpose. The fisherman nods toward Hori as he passes. Then continues down the lane. Soon he disappears from view. The Nile waits for him. As it waits for everyone. The river remains the center of countless lives. Its waters provide food. Transportation. Trade. Irrigation. Without it, the village would become only another place swallowed by sand. Hori steps toward the wall and places a hand against the warm clay surface. The heat stored there during midday is slowly escaping. The wall feels alive somehow. Not truly alive. But responsive. Changing with the day. Warm in the afternoon. Cool before dawn. Everything in the village responds to the sun. The walls. The people. The animals. Even the pace of conversation. The afternoon breeze strengthens slightly. Palm leaves sway overhead. Their shadows dance across the courtyard floor. The movement catches Hori's attention. He watches for a moment. The shifting patterns feel calming. Like waves moving across water. Or ripples spreading through a canal. Small movements. Gentle movements. the kind that invite quiet observation. Nearby, a few grains of sand tumble across the ground. The breeze pushes them forward, then stops. The grains settle. Their journey ends. At least until the next wind arrives. Hori smiles faintly. The desert never truly rests. Even when it appears motionless, it is always changing. Always reshaping itself. Always sending tiny pieces of itself toward the village. The afternoon light grows richer. Gold begins appearing among the pale colors of the day. The transformation is subtle, yet beautiful. Mud brick walls glow softly. Palm trunks cast longer shadows. The air itself seems warmer in color. People notice the change, even if they never speak about it. The approach of evening brings relief. The hardest part of the day is ending. Energy slowly returns. Workers complete unfinished tasks. Merchants prepare for the final hours of business. Families begin thinking about meals. The village enters a different mood. A quieter mood. A more relaxed mood. Hori retrieves the broom. Not because sweeping is urgently needed. Only because he enjoys seeing the courtyard tidy before evening. The familiar handle fits comfortably into his hands. He begins working. Back and forth. Back and forth. The sound is soft. Almost soothing. The broom gathers small collections of sand. Nothing more. A few drifts. A few scattered grains. The work is light compared to many tasks. Yet it carries its own satisfaction. Each stroke leaves the courtyard a little cleaner. A little more orderly. A little more prepared for the evening ahead. As he sweeps, the sunlight continues lowering. Birds move through the sky above. Some return to nests hidden among palm leaves. Others cross toward the river. Their wings catch flashes of golden light, then vanish into the distance. The village grows increasingly peaceful. The busy urgency of morning is gone. The heavy stillness of midday has passed. Now comes a quieter rhythm. A rhythm of completion. Of winding down. Of preparing for rest. The final pile of sand gathers near the wall. Hori lifts it into a basket. The grains slide together with a soft whisper. The sound is familiar. One he has heard thousands of times. Yet somehow it never feels unpleasant. It simply belongs. Like the wind. Like the river. Like the sun itself. He carries the basket toward the edge of the settlement. The path is warm beneath his feet. The sky above is beginning to change color. Orange touches the horizon. The first hints of evening appear. When he returns, the courtyard is ready. Clean. Quiet. Peaceful. A place where the family can gather as daylight fades. A place where the cooler air of evening will soon arrive. A place waiting for conversation, food, and rest. The broom returns to its familiar position beside the wall. Its work is done. For now. The sun continues descending toward the distant desert. Long shadows stretch across the village. Cooking fires will soon be lit. The smell of bread and vegetables will soon drift through the air. Children will soon return home. The stars will eventually emerge. But for the moment, the afternoon lingers softly over the ancient village, and the freshly swept courtyard rests beneath golden light while the Nile flows patiently beyond the fields, carrying another ordinary day toward evening. The afternoon slowly melts into evening. The sun hangs lower now, drifting toward the western horizon with the same steady patience it has shown every day for countless generations. Its light has changed completely. The harsh brightness of midday is gone. In its place comes a soft golden glow that touches every wall, every palm tree, and every dusty path with warmth. The village seems to breathe more easily. The heat continues fading. A welcome coolness begins creeping into the air. Workers returning from fields walk with slower steps now. Not because they are in a hurry to arrive home, but because the hardest labor of the day is behind them. The hours ahead belong to rest, to family, to simple comforts. Hori stands in the courtyard and watches the changing light. The freshly swept ground reflects the evening glow. The lines left by the broom appear delicate and neat. Soon darkness will soften them. Tomorrow new footprints will cross them. New sand will settle there. But for this moment, everything feels calm. A breeze arrives from the river. It carries the scent of water and distant vegetation. The smell feels refreshing after the long day. Palm leaves rustle overhead. Their shadows sway gently across the courtyard walls. The movement feels almost like a quiet dance. Beyond the courtyard, the village grows livelier again. Children return from their adventures. Voices echo through the lanes. Neighbors exchange greetings. A donkey loaded with baskets trudges slowly toward a storage area. The sounds are familiar. Comforting. The sounds of another successful day coming to an end. A small group of workers passes outside. Their clothing is dusty from labor. Their faces show tiredness. Yet there is satisfaction there too. The satisfaction that comes from completing necessary work. The satisfaction of knowing food has been grown. Repairs have been finished. Goods have been transported. Tasks have been completed. Ancient life demands much from people. Yet moments like these offer rewards of their own. The reward of returning home. The reward of sitting down. The reward of seeing loved ones at the end of the day. The sunlight deepens further. Orange and gold spread across the sky. The Nile catches the colors and reflects them back. From a distance, the river almost appears to glow. The sight never loses its beauty. No matter how many times it is seen. Hori has watched thousands of sunsets. Yet each one feels slightly different. Different clouds. Different winds. Different colors. Different memories attached to the day that came before it. He leans lightly against the courtyard wall. The clay surface has cooled considerably. The warmth of afternoon is slipping away. Soon the walls will begin storing the coolness of night instead. Everything follows a rhythm. Everything moves in cycles. The walls. The river. The seasons. The people. Even the drifting sand. Nearby, preparations for the evening meal are underway. The smell of cooking begins spreading through the courtyard. Warm bread. Cooked vegetables. Perhaps a little fish brought from the river. The scent drifts upward into the cooling air. It mingles with smoke from other homes. Soon the entire village carries the smell of evening meals. Each courtyard contributes its own small piece. The result feels comforting. Like a shared ritual performed by hundreds of families at once. Children settle down after their games. Their voices remain lively, but exhaustion is beginning to appear. The day has been long. The evening invites calm. One child sits near the courtyard wall, watching the sky change color. Another listens to a story told softly by an older family member. These moments pass quietly. Yet they become memories that last for years. Perhaps even for a lifetime. The sky continues darkening. The brilliant gold softens into deeper shades of orange and red. Palm trees stand as dark silhouettes against the horizon. Birds cross overhead. Many are returning to familiar resting places. Their calls echo briefly before fading. The village prepares itself for night. Tools are put away. Doors are secured. Animals are gathered close. The pace of life slows further. No one rushes. There is no reason to. The day has already offered what it could. Now comes the peaceful transition toward rest. The family gathers for the evening meal. They sit together in the courtyard. The air feels pleasant now. Far cooler than it was only a few hours earlier. The simple food tastes satisfying after a day of work. Bread is shared. Vegetables are passed around. Conversation drifts naturally from one subject to another. Sometimes there are words. Sometimes there is silence. Both feel equally comfortable. The fading light wraps everything in softness. Nearby, an oil lamp is lit. Its flame flickers gently. A warm circle of light appears against the gathering darkness. The lamp is small. Yet its glow feels welcoming. One lamp becomes two. Then three. Across the village, tiny lights begin appearing. Each one marking a family settling into the evening. Each one creating a small island of warmth within the night. The first star appears overhead. Then another. Then several more. The transformation happens quickly once it begins. The sky fills with points of light. Ancient Egypt often experiences remarkably clear nights. Without modern lights to compete with them, the stars seem endless. Hori notices them immediately. As he always does. There is comfort in their presence. The same stars watched his parents. The same stars watched their parents before them. Generation after generation has looked upward and seen familiar patterns shining in the darkness. The thought feels reassuring. The Nile grows quieter as darkness deepens. Boats still move along its surface. But their silhouettes become harder to see. The water reflects moonlight now instead of sunlight. Silver replaces gold. The river changes character with the night. Yet remains unmistakably itself. Children begin yawning. Their energy finally fading. The day's adventures are finished. Soon they will sleep. Soon dreams will replace games and conversations. The village itself seems to grow sleepy alongside them. Voices become softer. Footsteps become less frequent. The air grows cooler. The stars grow brighter. A gentle peace settles over everything. Hori glances across the courtyard. The ground remains clean. Only a few tiny grains of sand catch the lamplight. Barely noticeable. Yet they are there. The desert has already begun preparing tomorrow's work. The thought does not trouble him. It feels natural. Expected. Part of the endless rhythm connecting wind, sand, sunlight, and human effort. He watches the courtyard quietly. The lamp flickers. The breeze moves softly through the night air. Palm leaves rustle overhead. Beyond the village, unseen winds continue crossing the desert beneath the stars. And as the evening deepens into night beside the patient waters of the Nile, the peaceful courtyard rests in silence, waiting for another dawn and another gentle beginning. The night grows deeper over the Nile. The last traces of sunset have disappeared completely now. The western horizon no longer glows with orange and gold. Instead, darkness stretches gently across the land, soft and peaceful beneath a sky crowded with stars. The village settles into quietness. Most evening meals have ended. Most conversations have slowed. Most tools and baskets have been put away until morning. The busy sounds of the day seem very far away. Only occasional noises drift through the darkness. A distant voice. The soft bark of a dog. The rustle of palm leaves moving in the breeze. The sounds arrive one at a time, separated by long moments of silence. Hori remains in the courtyard. Not because there is work left to do. Simply because the night feels pleasant. The air is cool now. Far cooler than it was during the afternoon. The heat stored in the earth slowly escapes upward. The walls release the warmth they collected throughout the day. Everything seems to be breathing out. Releasing tension. Settling into rest. The oil lamp beside him flickers softly. Its small flame bends whenever a breeze passes through the courtyard. Light dances across the wall. Shadows shift and stretch. The movement is gentle. Almost hypnotic. Nearby, the children are already asleep inside the house. The long day has worn away their energy. Their dreams now carry them through worlds unseen. Hori can hear their quiet breathing whenever the courtyard becomes completely silent. The sound brings comfort. A reminder that everyone is safe. Everyone is home. Everyone is resting. Above him, the stars seem endless. They cover the sky from one horizon to the other. Thousands upon thousands of distant lights. Some shine brightly. Others appear faint and delicate. Together they create a ceiling of light over the ancient world. For generations, people have looked upward and wondered about them. Farmers finishing evening meals. Fishermen returning from the river. Guards standing watch. Travelers crossing desert roads. All sharing the same sky. All resting beneath the same stars. The moon rises higher. Its pale light spills across rooftops and courtyards. The village changes beneath it. Details soften. Colors fade. Everything becomes silver and gray. The courtyard that appeared golden at sunset now glows gently beneath moonlight. The swept ground looks smooth. Peaceful. The lines left by the broom earlier are still visible. Though less distinct now. Time and darkness have softened them. Soon the wind will soften them further. Hori notices a few grains of sand sparkling faintly near the wall. Tiny reflections of moonlight. Tiny reminders that the desert is never far away. Even at night. Especially at night. Beyond the village, winds continue moving across the open land. Invisible currents cross dunes and empty spaces. Carrying sand. Shaping ridges. Creating patterns that may disappear before sunrise. The desert changes constantly. Yet from a distance it always seems the same. The thought drifts through Hori's mind. Then fades. The night encourages simple thoughts. Slow thoughts. There is no need to hurry from one idea to another. The darkness invites patience. Across the village, a few lamps remain lit. Most have already been extinguished. Families sleep. Workers rest tired muscles. Children dream. Animals settle quietly beside walls and shelters. The entire settlement seems wrapped in calm. Even the Nile appears quieter. Its waters continue flowing. Yet the sound is softer at night. Gentler. Almost like a whisper moving through the darkness. Hori closes his eyes for a moment. The breeze touches his face. The air smells faintly of river water, clay, and cooling earth. The scents are subtle. Comforting. They belong to home. They belong to this place. Eventually he stands. The hour is late. His body feels heavy. The pleasant heaviness that comes after a day of ordinary labor. A tiredness that welcomes sleep. He glances once more across the courtyard. Everything appears exactly as it should. The broom rests beside the wall. The storage jar stands quietly in its place. The earth is clean. The house is peaceful. Nothing demands attention. Nothing requires effort. For now, all tasks are complete. He steps inside. The room is dim. Moonlight filters through small openings. Soft patterns stretch across the floor. His family sleeps nearby. The sight feels reassuring. The simple beauty of ordinary life. No great wealth. No grand monuments. No famous achievements. Only shelter. Family. Food. Rest. For many people, these things are enough. Hori lies down upon his mat. The woven fibers feel familiar beneath him. His muscles relax almost immediately. The day's work begins slipping away. The thoughts that occupied his mind earlier become less important. Sleep approaches slowly. Gently. Outside, the village continues resting beneath the stars. Hours pass. The moon crosses the sky. The Nile flows onward. The desert wind continues its patient journey. The world never completely stops. Yet it feels wonderfully peaceful. Deep into the night, the air grows cooler still. A few clouds drift briefly across part of the sky. Then move on. The stars return. Unchanged. Steady. Ancient. Far beyond the village, dunes shine softly beneath moonlight. Their shapes seem frozen. Yet grains of sand continue moving. Tiny journeys happening everywhere. Millions of them. Most unnoticed. Most unseen. Some of those grains may eventually arrive at Hori's courtyard. Some may gather beside the wall. Some may settle near the storage jar. The journey takes time. The desert is patient. There is no need to hurry. As the night continues, silence deepens. Even the insects seem quieter now. The village sleeps deeply. The hardest workers often do. Their bodies know how to rest when given the chance. Hori sleeps peacefully. His breathing remains slow and steady. Tomorrow already waits beyond the horizon. Not dramatically. Not urgently. Simply waiting. The courtyard will still be there. The broom will still be there. The Nile will still flow. The sun will rise. The wind will carry sand. The cycle will continue. And there is comfort in knowing that. Eventually, far to the east, the first invisible signs of dawn begin their approach. No colors yet. No light. Only the quiet certainty that morning is coming. The stars continue shining. The village continues sleeping. The Nile continues flowing through darkness. And beneath the vast Egyptian sky, the peaceful courtyard rests in moonlight, patiently awaiting another dawn, another broom, and another gentle day beside the river. Far to the east, a faint glow waits beyond the horizon. Morning will come soon enough. The sun will rise over the Nile once again. The birds will awaken among the palm trees. The bakers will begin their work. The fishermen will guide their boats onto the quiet water. The farmers will walk toward the green fields beside the river. And somewhere within the village, a familiar broom will rest against a wall, waiting for another ordinary day. But for now, the night remains. The stars shine softly above the sleeping land. The desert lies calm beneath the moon. The Nile continues its endless journey through the darkness, carrying cool water past villages, fields, and silent riverbanks. Nothing rushes. Nothing demands attention. The world feels gentle. Peaceful. Still. The courtyard rests beneath silver moonlight. The lines left by the broom have nearly faded into the earth. A few grains of sand sparkle quietly near the wall. Tiny travelers from the desert. Tiny reminders that life is always moving, even when it seems perfectly still. The wind drifts softly across the village. Palm leaves rustle. A distant bird stirs briefly in its sleep. Then silence returns. Deep and comforting. The homes of the village remain dark. Families sleep safely within their walls of clay and straw. Children dream beneath woven blankets. Workers rest tired hands and weary shoulders. The long day has ended. The labor is finished. The tools are quiet. The paths are empty. The cooking fires have become gentle embers. Above it all, the ancient stars watch patiently, just as they have watched for countless generations. They watched the river flow. They watched the desert shift. They watched people live simple lives filled with work, family, bread, sunlight, and rest. And tonight they watch over a peaceful village beside the Nile. The air grows cooler. The earth slowly releases the last warmth of the day. The river whispers softly in the distance. Its voice blends with the breeze until the two become almost indistinguishable. Everything feels calm. Everything feels settled. The courtyard no longer needs sweeping. The walls no longer need repairing. The baskets have been set aside. The day's concerns have drifted away like dust carried on the wind. Only quiet remains. The moon moves slowly across the sky. The stars shimmer gently above. The Nile flows onward through the darkness. And as the ancient night stretches peacefully across the land, the village sinks deeper into rest. The desert grows still. The river grows quiet. The breeze becomes softer and softer. Until there is only the feeling of cool air, distant water, and endless stars overhead. And beside the patient Nile, beneath the timeless sky of Egypt, the night continues peacefully on, carrying every tired soul toward deeper rest, softer dreams, and perfect silence.